Hey y'all, welcome back to another video. So this is on the same day as my last video. Still on my front porch with Beacon. And so I was gonna mention some interesting comments I've heard already about Beacon. So we went to this family party a couple days ago. We were all chilling, I had her in it attached to a table by a tie down. Yeah. And she was just chilling, and this guy walks over, and he knows that she's a service dog. Like, everyone there knew me or knew of me enough to know that she was a service dog. He drops this treat right in front of her. Of course, I don't notice because I'm like, she's on tie down, she's good, she's not gonna go anywhere. I'm talking to someone else that I haven't seen in a while. And next thing I know, I hear her crunching, and I'm like, what are you doing? And they were like, oh, so-and-so gave her a treat. And I was like, no, they don't. So I almost told the person, but it turns out they were related to so-and-so, and it just, my family's very understanding most of the time of her and how we work. But in certain situations, they tend to, I don't want to say they're not understanding because they try to understand, but they don't want me to, I guess, be firm with people, Like, they don't want me to say, oh, you can't pet her, or no, and just leave it at that. They want me to be like, oh, you can't pet her because. Well, I shouldn't have to say why they can't pet her. Like, read the sign, it says on her harness, do not pet, I'm working. Like, seriously. So, people just don't get that. My family doesn't understand. Sometimes you have to be firm with people. Like, they sometimes treat her like a pet. I'm like, you guys can't feed her cheese, you guys can't feed her carrots. Don't feed her this or that, people just don't get that sometimes. But I mean, it is a big adjustment if you're a family member of someone who has a service dog, never had one. You're like, is this, like, your whole role was changed as a family member? Because, like, my family, for example, they always were the ones to guide me, and now they don't have to. Now, granted, they do have to tell me when they turn, or if I'm following, But it's a big adjustment for them, so I understand where they're coming from. But on the other hand, I'm like, I have to be rude to people to get my point across. And not necessarily rude, but firm. Because if I'm not firm about it, these people here don't know what a service dog is half the time. Most people in the public, they just think a service dog is a pet or just a fake service dog, So they don't really understand that it's actually a working dog and you can't feed it, you can't talk to it. Anyway, off the topic, sorry. So, getting off my soapbox now. So, weird comments that I've heard. So, I've heard someone say, the other day we were walking into Walmart, and they go, oh, it's one of those horses, look, Mom. And it was like, she's not a horse, but okay. And then we've, of course, had people try to pet her, and, like, this one girl stuck her hand out. She was in this little, like, a cart, like a shopping cart. She was in the back, she stuck her hand out. And, of course, Beacon being Beacon, she runs over to her, or tries to. And my mom's like, because the parent wasn't paying attention, so my mom reaches over as soon as the girl sticks her hands out. And she reaches over to, like, grab her hand, and my mom reached over to grab the girl's hand, and the girl, like, jerked her hand back, like, don't touch my hand. And my mom was like, she's working, don't pet her. I was like, thanks, Mom. But she's done that a lot with people, because sometimes I don't notice that they're coming towards us, because Beacon won't react. She'll just be normal. And so my mom's always like, hey, don't touch her. You can't pet her while she's working. And normally it's little kids, because they just love the dogs. I've had some adults ask, but mainly they try to ignore her, or they ask me questions like, what breed is she, and where's she from? I've had a lot of people keep asking me if she's from the Seeing Eye, and I'm like, no, the harness literally says leader dogs. But yeah, and then of course I've always had what does she do? And I'm like, do you not see the harness, Like, we're working, and they ask what she does, and I'm like, did you not just hear me tell her to turn this way, And I don't know, people are weird. Like, literally, I've had someone ask, like, well, how does she know where to go? And I'm like, she doesn't, I have to tell her. And they were like, well, what good does that do you if you have to tell her what to do? And I was like, you're not understanding this. So, I've had that. I've had, my favorite one was when I told someone I was going to school. They were like, where's she gonna stay? And I was like, well, in my room. And they were like, yeah, but when you go to class, where's she gonna stay? And I was like, in the room with me? She's gonna be by my feet. And they were like, you can't bring that dog into the building, you have to keep it outside. I was like, it's a service dog. And they were like, yeah, I know it's a service dog, but you can't take it in with you. I was like, okay, bye. Like, I totally left that conversation, because sometimes there's no point in explaining to people, because they're never going to get it. What else have I heard? My personal favorite, another one, was this morning, actually. I was, in my mom's work at a hotel. We were just chilling. This lady comes over, and she's Beacons and Harness. You know, she's just sitting there. This lady goes, you know, I know I'm probably not supposed to talk to you, but you are so pretty. And I'm probably not even supposed to pet you, but I'm just going to. And she walked over to me, and I kind of walked towards her, and I was like, ma'am, you can't pet my dog. She's in harness. She was like, oh, well, why not? And I said, because she's in harness. She said, oh, so I can't talk to her either? And I'm like, no, and you also can't look at her, because looking at her distracts her. She was like, oh, okay then. And then she walked away, and I heard her talking to her husband. She was like, well, that's a service dog. We can't touch it. And I was like, if you knew that it was a service dog, why would you come over here and tell me that? Or ask me if you could pet her? So, let's see, what else have I heard? Oh, someone asked me about the gentle leader on her nose. They always say, well, that poor dog has that thing on her nose. You should take it off her. And I'm like, do you want to control her if I take it off of her? Because I can't. Well, sorry, I had the speech on. And then they say, well, is it supposed to keep her from barking? And I'm like, well, no, it's not a muzzle. It's just a thing around her nose. They're like, well, is it supposed to keep her from biting people? And I was like, whoa. First off, she's not going to bite. She's a service dog. They don't bite. They don't bark. At least for the most part, she doesn't bark. And, I mean, I don't know if she would bite or not. Probably if I were in a dangerous situation, she would. But I think she would stay with me more than likely. But she might bite. I don't know. It depends on what someone does. Hopefully we never find out if she'll bite, because I don't want to be in that situation. Let's see, what else? Oh, I've heard people ask me what I feed her, and I tell them, like, you know, what kind of dog food, and she eats the Purina food. And they're always like, oh, well, that poor dog looks hungry, she looks thin, she's gonna be a lot bigger. And I'm like, no, she's not. And they're like, yeah, she's supposed to be, like, super fat. And I was like, we can't let a dog get fat if she's a service dog. Like, she's good at her weight right now, you know. And they were just like, well, you're cruel to that dog, you don't feed it enough. And what else was it? What else did they say? Oh, I need to feed her animal hide bones. Or not animal hide, animal bones. You know, like the stuff you can get from, like, Rural King and stuff. They have those little, what are those called? You know, like pig ears and rib bones and stuff like that. And I was like, well, we're not allowed to feed her that. She's a working dog. And, you know, the Splinter and the guide dog school said no. So I'm not gonna mess with it. And they were like, yeah, but you can give her a femur bone. It'll be fine. And I'm like, yeah, but the guide dog school said no, so I'm not doing it. We had a long argument. And then, this was a guy, like a young guy that kind of thinks he knew everything, but he didn't. Then, what else did they say? Oh, whenever I tell him what toys she plays with, which are Nylabones and Kongs, they say, well, she can play with something else. Give her one of the squeaky toys. All dogs like squeaky toys. I'm like, she can't have a squeaky toy. She's a working dog. You know, and I don't think they understand that, like, my life literally depends on her. So, you know, like, if some kid comes by with one of those horns on the bike that squeak, you know, and she's used to playing with squeaky toys, she thinks it's playtime, she could run out in the middle of traffic. Now, more than likely she wouldn't, because she knows what's, you know, she's working and everything. She knows what to do. But I'm not even going to try to get her used to that squeaking sound, because if I do, that could be dangerous for me. So people don't seem to understand that, like, Nylabones and Kongs, that's the only thing she can play with. No frisbees, no balls. Like, my life depends on this. So, let's see. I think that's all. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I keep adding more. Her shoes. People always say that they want to know why she wears the shoes, which they are grip track boots from Roughwear. And I was like, well, she wears them because the pavement's hot. We've literally had like 6 days of like over 100-degree temperatures outside. So now I'm sitting outside and it's probably like don't know, maybe like 75 or so. It's really nice out here. And Beacon loves being outside, so here we are. Anyway, so they ask about the shoes, and I will show those in another video. I think I might have already, but I'll show them again. I'm going to do another video once I get back to school about, like, all of her supplies and stuff that I use. Anyway, so her shoes cover her paws. Whoa. Hang on, she just stood up. Oh, okay, she's digging. And now she's looking at the camera like, what are you doing? Okay, anyway, sorry. So, the shoes, they always ask why she have them on, and I explain, you know, and they say, well, aren't they expensive? And I said, well, I mean, they are, but this is an expensive dog anyway, so I'm willing to pay for it, you know. She's a very well-trained, she's going to be well-maintained dog, you know. I can't handle her paws being burnt in the pavement. And of course, they're always like, well, you know, my dog doesn't have that. Why is your dog so special? And yeah, all that good stuff. So then I have to go through the whole thing about how she works, why she works, and all that good stuff. But they just said it's really cruel to make her wear shoes because she kind of prances around in them. She doesn't really like them too well. In fact, she hates them. But she likes them more than the paws, which were the rubber balloon things. P-A-W-Z, paws. Kind of like balloons, but they go over the paw here. Sorry, Beat, can I touch your paw? Thank you. So I have the front paw in my hand. They go over her foot, and they don't go over her dew claw, which is right here. So they just go over this part. I don't know if you guys can see. That might be a really crappy video shot, but anyway, so they go over her claw, or her paw, sorry, but not her dew claw. And she literally just stood there until I took them off. She would not walk. So finally, whenever I got her the boots, I made her walk. Like, I literally pulled the leash until she walked. And once we get going on a route, like at first she'll kind of act up and everything, but once we get going, she's fine. She loves them. And they fit great. They're really good. I'd recommend them. Of course, you have to be sure to measure the dog's paws. I got all four. I think they were 2 inches, I think. 1 or 2. 1.75 or 2. And, I mean, they fit great. I mean, one of them, I think the front paws are smaller than the back paws. But, I mean, they fit really well. And you just kind of have to force them on. So, like, I have to take her elbow here and just kind of force her palm into it and then cinch it really tight to where it actually fits. So, yeah. So, totally off my soapbox now about the shoes. And about people. But, yeah, so I've just heard some really weird comments about her. I haven't had any access issues yet. I'm waiting on that. We've not been to any, like, nice restaurants yet, or, you know, like, doctor's offices or movie theaters, anything like that. We've been to the store, and a lot of walking downtown, some general, like, clothing stores, you know, stuff like that. But we haven't been to, like, the good stuff, like the mall, or restaurants, or doctor's offices, hospitals, anything like that. But, I mean, she's really well behaved. She's getting better at the vet. She kind of hates the vet, but we're getting there. So, yeah. So, thank you all for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the time that school starts. Thank you all. Have a good day.